Welcome to the Nuff Said Podcast, episode 34. It's the fourth part of our summer movie series. We are talking Thor, the first one tonight. And boy, my butt's a little sore because we've been sitting and talking a while. This is our second podcast tonight. I am Railways Rob Southgate, and with me is...
Unfortunately, or fortunately, still jacked up Jonathan.
I say it's fortunate. How about you?
And the amazing Alil.
Wow. You are so full of yourself.
Always. I have to be a little cocky.
You know what? I'm not touching that joke, but I'll write something to you offline about that.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure your partners on League of Geeks will have a few things to say about that, too.
Oh, they always do.
Yeah. Okay, little cocky. Let's talk Thor. Wait, I can't even find my notes. It doesn't matter. Let's talk Thor. So, like we do every time, up front, let's talk about it. What did you guys think? Alil, your turn. What did you think of Thor?
I actually had to take off work to see this in the theater because, again, I have kids, and at this time they were really young. So going out at night with the wife to go see these movies wasn't really conducive. But hey, that's what vacation time for is, right?
There you go.
I absolutely love this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. There are, again, just like in Iron Man 2, some issues with the movie, but it was different. It was really different than the other movies. I mean, it was an origin story, kind of. I mean, he's always Thor. It's not like Tony Stark.
We're not seeing him born as one guy and then turns into a god.
Exactly. I mean,
he's Thor.
And I love the scene early on with the Frost Giants and Thor and the Warriors 3 and Sif. And that's kind of the kind of movie I thought it was. I thought it was a lot of fun. It had some fun moments. It had an actor who I'd never seen before. Well, okay, I saw him for 5 minutes in the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. But Chris Hemsworth had this charm that, when I saw him, you knew that this guy has something special. He's going to be a big time actor, and I think he's become that.
Well, and you know what? You know what's funny about this guy? I was thinking about this when I was watching it. We talk about, obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. Like, he fits that role. And in our last podcast, we talked about, or at least I did, the love of Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. The casting is so good. And I think that the casting for Chris Hemsworth might be so good that we've kind of forgotten about how important he is as Thor. It's another guy where it's a tough character to pull off. Well, he is bigger than life. He's awesome in it.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Marvel has done really well, even in the replacements of some of the characters.
Yeah.
They've still casted very well. And then here comes the second wave, and they've casted even better with some of them, as we've talked about before with Norton and Ruffalo. But it's like all these actors are perfect, and they're not the typical actors to be in big budget blockbuster, sci-fi CG type of movies.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the cast list right here. I mean, let's just say Idris Elba.
Oh yeah, Stellan Skarsgård,
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap! If any movie that I saw that had that, I'd be like, yeah, I'm down with this. This is going to be some acting.
Yeah, and it's
Thor.
But as important as Chris Hemsworth was, how important has Tom Hiddleston been?
You know what? It's funny because he was a complete dark horse. When he played Loki in this one, I really, really loved Loki. When Avengers hit and it was going to be Loki again, I was like, again? And then I ended up loving Loki in the Avengers.
Yeah, see, in this one, I liked Loki. I understood Loki. I thought Hiddleston did a great job with the Loki role, but when he came on the Avengers, that's when I think that they fixed
that's when he
character.
owned it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was like, holy cow, we've got the Loki that I kind of wish we had in Avengers, but I understand now why they did that. It was more of an evolution.
In a funny way, I think that if we want to talk origin stories, this might have been Loki's origin story.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Much more than Thor's.
Yeah, I definitely agree with
that.
Not
Jane Foster's.
Yeah. And I agree with that because we get more of Loki's backstory, his history, how Odin found him, how he was raised, all these things, what he really is.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, I don't know if I've seen this movie 50 times. Now, he killed his real father, right? Because he was the son of Laufey, and then he ends
Yes,
up killing him,
absolutely.
right? Yeah, so it's like
Absolutely.
I always thought of that. I'm like, they say it, but then he kills him. Is that
Nope, he kills him.
okay?
He kills him. Okay.
Which is odd.
Before we get too deep into it, wait. Before we get too deep into it, Jonathan,
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts because we're already like rolling over Jonathan with this.
Sorry, Jonathan.
All right.
What did you think, Jonathan?
I really dug this movie. I mean, the best parts, and we'll get more of this, of course, in Dark World, is Asgard. I mean, this amazing world where it's like futuristic at the same time. It has like almost this, old, like ancient feel, and the cinematography and the special effects. I mean, it's just like direction is just amazing.
Absolutely amazing visuals.
And it's just like, wow, I want more of this world, and we'll get to it eventually.
You want to know something that's funny? So I used to read Thor way before they really got into Asgard and all the stories. Like back when it used to be Thor, like flying around the desert, swinging his hammer and fighting bad guys. And that was, like 60s Thor is what I was familiar with. And then I read some of the more modern ones, and I was like, whoa, there's a whole mythology going on. This is really cool. And I could not, for the life of me, believe that I was going to enjoy the Rainbow Bridge.
Yep.
Or really that they were going to pull off Asgard without it looking like, the Masters of the Universe movie. And instead, I wanted to spend the whole time in Asgard. When they got to Earth, in the director's commentary, he talks about how people love when he's on Earth. I'm like, really? Not so much.
Yeah,
I love when he's on Asgard.
Right. I mean, that really, some of the Earth stuff and the kind of small town, I mean,
I don't care.
It's just not very interesting to me.
Hey, you know what? Blow it up. Let the Destroyer blow it up, and let's get back to Asgard.
So.
Okay, so my thoughts on it, just really quick. I'm going to say the same thing with each of these. I really loved it. In fact, this was a real dark horse for me. It was the one I was least down with when it came out. Like I was really excited for Captain America. I was excited for Hulk. I was excited for Iron Man. This one I was like, yeah, I like Thor, but I just couldn't see how they were going to pull it off and make it interesting. Big win for me seeing this. And what I think is weird is like IMDb, I see it gets a 7 out of 10. I'm like, this one is clearly a 9 in my opinion.
Thinking about IMDb is, really most comic book movies, don't get 8s. 7.5 is a good average. Avengers.
I think this is a little above. I thought this was great.
Yeah, but I did hear some kind of frustrations with Thor. I think a lot of the Earth stuff kind of bothered people a lot more.
I think people didn't like the Destroyer, the stuff with the Destroyer.
Yeah.
Although that was so minor in this, it was hardly. I think that was it. Like, I think people wanted a big bad guy they could grip onto it. It didn't really have that.
Yeah, we're going to get more of that in the Avengers, I think that's what we're getting in the Avengers with Loki. I think that's maybe what people wanted. Some, like, larger-than-life villain who was already, like, opposed to someone who Loki here, he had kind of this, he was basically just wanted to have attention. He wanted to be king.
Like we said in Iron Man 2, daddy issues.
Yeah.
But did he want to be king? Because there are a few lines in this movie where, especially when Odin wakes up, why he killed the Frost Giants to prove to Odin that he was worthy. I don't know if he officially, at this point, wanted the throne. I think he just wanted to feel equal in Odin's eyes to Thor. I think that then all changes.
I think that's a good, solid argument. I think ultimately he wanted the throne, but I don't think he was willing to kill Odin to take the throne. I think he wanted to be equal.
But then,
and I think the whole thing was a setup, and that's how he ended up. He set the whole thing up, and he got Laufey, the Frost Giant King, in there just to kill him in front of Odin.
So if Loki didn't actually want to become king, so then what was the motivation for sending the...
Oh, we're not saying he doesn't want to become king. We're saying that's not his ultimate goal at this moment.
Oh, I see.
If you want to take his long-term goal, yeah, he wants to be the number one son and move into that king position.
Okay.
But really what he was after is he couldn't understand why he didn't have Odin's love the way Thor did.
Right. And you can see it from the get-go. He sent the Frost Giants initially to get the Casket of Winters just to ruin Thor's commencement or whatever, crowning.
Right.
And then it was, Thor getting banished. and Odin going into the coma, Odin sleep because he waited too long. Loki didn't plan him to go into the Odin sleep, but then he looked at that and took advantage of that to show Odin
Right.
that he could be as good as Thor or better. And I think that's what this
Right.
whole movie was about. And that's why, like, I guess we jump all the way to the end when they're hanging from the bridge, and he says, "I did it all for you," and he said, basically, "No, Loki, like, no, you didn't do it all for me." Kind of like the inner turmoil because he kind of was trying to do it for him, but he was doing it selfishly, and that's when he kind of let go.
Right.
And then that's the Loki we get in Avengers, and then because even in the Avengers, he didn't want to be king of Asgard. He just wanted to be a king of something because he thought he was royalty.
Right.
Right. Everyone bow before me.
That's right.
Something to that.
Asgard's secondary. He wants to be the king. He just wants to be the king.
Yeah, he doesn't care where. I mean, it's like the line in Superman when the original Superman 2, when Lex Luthor's like, just give me Australia. He just doesn't care. Just give me something.
Yeah,
and
give me something. Throw me a bone, and things are going to get a lot better for you.
Yeah, and that we'll get to it when we get to the Avengers, but that's the thing. You get me the Tesseract, I'll give you the Earth, and Thanos is everything else.
Right. Yeah, give me my slice. That's all I want.
Speaking of Thanos, I'm definitely after I watched this movie, or at least as I watched it, it got me even more excited for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, because the Infinity Gauntlet?
Well, I mean, I guess just in general, the fact that, most of the other Avengers, most of the other movies we see in the MCU just take place like on Earth.
Yeah.
But seeing...
Right, and this one really showed that they can do it off Earth and make it completely engaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's funny because even with Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't know. I know Lil didn't go. Jonathan, I think you did.
Yeah.
They did a sneak preview the other night, which we'll probably cover in other things. But you know what? I didn't for one second think, gosh, I wish this was on Earth. That 17 minutes was completely engaging. I was down with that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. I think and I think Thor 2 did a really great job of this too, because we got more time on Asgard in Thor 2, and it's just such a great visual. So many cool things going on to see, and it doesn't seem weird and artificial. It seems like, yeah, this is Asgard. This is where this is.
Yeah.
And I love that mix of like the old and then the technology. It's just really, really cool.
Right. And Thor kind of has like this old kind of not really exactly barbaric, but it's just this kind of old way of, taking a glass and just throwing it on the ground. Another.
Right.
That's definitely
like a big old Viking about everything.
Yeah, like that. It's not a futuristic thing. It's definitely a older kind of thing where people just, just throw it on the ground. It breaks, it breaks. We just bring out another one.
Right. Yet at the same time, they're all integrated with all this interesting technology that are like spaceships things.
Right.
And that rainbow bridge, and then when he breaks the rainbow bridge, like, to me that was just like, what? When they showed Idris Elba standing off at the end of the rainbow bridge and it's all destroyed, that was just fantastic. I mean, I didn't think of it as a physical thing like that until seeing it in this movie.
Yeah, and I really liked how they did that scene early on when they're riding the horses and the bridge is lighting up, kind of
like with the hoof prints.
Yeah, kind of like the Michael Jackson video, Billie Jean. That's kind of what it reminded me of. I really like that because the steps were lighted up, but you could still see the rainbow colors coming through. I thought that was really, really effective and really, really well done.
Well, and I noticed it when the horse scene, and then I noticed it later. It was very subtle, but they light up a little bit less when it's people walking on it. So the horses are heavier, so it was a little brighter. When it's people, it still does the same thing, but it's a little bit more subtle. That was just a really, really fantastic effect. And how about Heimdall's chamber there? Like the walls. I mean, like I wanted to freeze frame and really look at that because it was just gorgeous.
No, I loved. You're right. I mean, the bridge, everything. I mean, all that stuff was the visually was stunning. And I think I was watching a commentary with Kenneth Branagh about that and how he wanted to mesh the old world mentality with like this technology, like this kingdom that he wanted to show. I mean, it's gorgeous. I mean, everything there, the artwork, everything you see on the walls, the little, even like some of the silverware, if you get some close-up shots, you see like really intricate detail and everything. It's really, really great.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Kenneth Branagh for a second. I think he was, just as Jon Favreau was the perfect choice for Iron Man, I think he was really the perfect choice for Thor 1, I should say, because he does have that background. He was a Shakespearean actor and director. In his commentary, he mentioned Shakespeare about 40 times.
Right.
And really, in this story with the two sons and the father and the love with Jane, I mean, like all of that felt very Shakespearean to me, and I was like, he really is the perfect director for this. And I'm glad that he's smart enough to know that, hey, I can outsource people to do these effects and these fight sequences. I think the only place that he may have been out of his element was the Earth fight with the destroyer, where it was like that one that fell a little bit flatter than it should have, but everything else very Shakespearean, very big, and just it worked so well for me.
Yeah, and we'll see in the Avengers when when Tony will kind of mock him. Do mother do he weareth your drapes?
Yeah, right.
So.
Spoiler: he does that in Avengers.
Yeah, spoiler.
Yeah, man. I think that he's the perfect director for this. For Thor 2, I think that they went a different route, and I think they really hit it out of the park with that, because you needed to now go, okay, we've established the language of this world. It's kind of like what's going on with Star Wars. With the new Star Wars movies, JJ is doing the first one, and then we've got Rian Johnson doing the next two. I think JJ is a perfect guy to launch that, like to kind of set that universe on its track for the next three. He doesn't need to direct all of them.
Right, and he's not going to direct the third Star Trek.
Right. And I think that's a really great way to do it. And I think this was another example of that. Kenneth Branagh left a stamp on this. He created backstory that when I saw Thor 2, this whole movie came with it. And all those elements that he put there, that sense of Norse mythology, and that yeah, it's in the comics, but I think it was deepened by Branagh's influence. And I think that carried over into Thor 2. So, once again, that's a good choice for director for me. What do you guys think?
I definitely agree.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of Branagh's work, acting and directing, and he was great. I kind of disagree a bit with the JJ talk. I mean, I do think I would have liked to see Branagh take this to the next level. Kind of how we got Favreau for 2. He didn't have to do all 3 or the next or whatever, but it takes you sometimes that first movie to get your bearings, especially with a new character and a unique character. I kind of wish we got one more chance of him to kind of
I can
elaborate
agree
on
with
that.
So maybe 2 is a good number for directors to really leave their mark.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I can go with that.
Because a lot of times in the sequel, sometimes, and again, I don't think Favreau did it better in Iron Man 2, but Raimi did it better in Spider-Man 2. And
that is very true.
And there are those sequels that sometimes it's the first one, if it's a difficult first one, because I think a movie like Thor,
I think this was incredibly difficult. This was the least straightforward property they've had to deal with so far.
Exactly. So I'm guessing there was a lot of tension on set. There was a lot of tension with Marvel, because if this movie falls apart right before Avengers could fall apart.
Right.
And
well, no, I think Captain America was more important in that lead in, but I do think there was a lot of pressure at this point.
Yeah, but I think Captain America was also easier. I mean, and we'll talk about the director.
It's more straightforward.
It's more straightforward. This one, and I don't mean that they couldn't have done it if Thor was a bomb or Thor wasn't good, but I think having it the way they had it with Branagh.
Once again, it goes back to that idea of each one of these has its own distinct voice. This was a Shakespearean play.
Right.
That's what this one was. Captain America is, when we get to it, it's a rollicking 40s serial for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, and exactly, but that's why I wanted one more shot with Branagh. I wanted to see it in the sequel, to see him develop that world even more before he hands it off.
You know what? I'm going to be in complete agreement with you on that. I think you made a solid point there. I'm not disappointed though, because I thought Thor 2 was awesome, and we've already done a podcast about that. I thought they knocked it out of the park. But I did feel this movie in there. Whereas they could have like made it more like, hey, it's a sequel to Avengers, but no, it actually felt more like a sequel to this.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, and they did the smart thing because it should not have been a sequel to Avengers. But it kind of Thor 2 kind of was, because it did start off right with Loki being jailed. So
well, yeah, I mean, aren't they all?
Really, all the Phase 2 films
they are a sequel.
You know what, though?
It's immediately afterwards, but
yeah,
I think that the story of Thor went back to this as opposed to having. I don't know how to say it. It didn't feel like Avengers 2. It felt like Thor 2 to me.
Yeah, I can go with that.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
So, okay, in the last podcast, I don't know if you guys agreed with me, but I was talking about the whole Hydra thing and the stuff that we found out in Phase 2. There was a moment in this movie that made me. I thought it in Iron Man 2. I thought, I wonder if they knew what they were planning. This movie, there was a moment that made me feel that they knew who was going to flip, what they were going to do by the time they hit Captain America 2. I really felt it, and I'll tell you what it was. It was very specifically Agent Sitwell. Now, I never saw it until this viewing when I watched it, because I actually watched it today. I never thought that until watching it today, but there's a scene when Sitwell walks in and he's talking, and it's a mirror image. You see his face looking back, and then you see him talking forward, and it had a real duplicity to it that made me go, like, all of a sudden I got this feeling like, oh, he's a bad guy. And then I was like, wait, no, he's not a bad guy. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I wonder if that was one of those things where, like, maybe Feige said to Kenneth Branagh, eventually some of these S.H.I.E.L.D. guys are going to flip. So go ahead and do your magic to kind of let that be. Because that, to me, was very telling. I really felt that was what was going on in that scene. Did you guys catch that at all, or am I just nuts? Or
I mean,
I'm going to go with your nuts.
Yeah, I can't say that I have. Yeah.
A little. I had a feeling you'd go with my nuts.
I mean, I had to look up. I'm having trouble remembering who Sitwell was, to be honest.
Sitwell, you don't know who Sitwell is?
He's the one
that Coulson has the meal with in that little short where they sit there and talk. Yeah, the one shot on the way to Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
And then he's the one that at the end, the last episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. before Captain America, he says, he's in that episode, and then he says, I have to go catch a boat. And then the very first part of Captain America 2, he's on the boat, and then you find out he's Hydra. Like, he is flipped. He's an important character. Here, I really felt that. Now, it could just be that I'm into S.H.I.E.L.D. and I'm into this whole thing, and I'm starting to connect dots that aren't there, but I don't think so. I think that dot was there.
Very possible.
I think the world building was there. I don't know if they were ready to go with the Hydra flip here. I really don't.
I'm not saying they were. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that they were ready to do that. I'm just saying that they knew Hydra was here, that was in this universe, just as they know that the 10 rings are in this universe. And I think that they are laying little things out there all the time that are leading these things, that when you watch, when we're on the Phase 4 and we go back and we watch Phase 1, there's going to be stuff that we're going to go, oh my gosh, that's where the 10 rings was actually doing this. This is where Hydra was actually infiltrating this.
Well, I
really think that.
I think going back, when they go into those other phases, they can go back and try to tie things in, but I don't think they started it. I mean, there were problems. I don't think it was started here. I really don't. I do think all this was leading up to the one goal, and that was the Avengers. And I don't think they went past the...
they were gambling so much on Avengers that that's what they're focusing on.
I do think that, because I think
going forward, what I'm saying is going to be very reasonable.
Yes. No, and I agree with that, because I think now, because they hit the goal. I mean, they won, the title here. I mean, they $1.5 billion. Now it's play money now for them, because they know they're going to make money with these, and they can build these really crazy connective universes, which is what they're going to do. And I think they can do that easily. But
will we ever get a Man-Thing movie? Oh, please, let there be a Man-Thing movie.
They already have one, right?
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. They have a Sci-Fi Channel one.
Well, I'm talking one of these.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine that marketed.
Although, give me another sci-fi one, Sharktopus versus Man-Thing.
Awesome. I'm there.
Man-Thing NATO.
There you go. Sharknado versus Man-Thing. He's
Sharknado.
just punching us.
A whole Sharknado versus the Man-Thing.
I love it. But
you know what? Take my money. I'd be in on that.
But I do think going forward, I do think after because I still don't think they even thought that Senator Stern was, because a lot of these characters that they put in these movies were done for like as a help. Like Clark
Garrett
Gregg.
Shandling was a favorite of Jon Favreau.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so did they have it? But you know what? They probably watched it and went, if we're going to have somebody flip, this is a good one to have flip because he was a jerk.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that's what happened. You know, them going through, because I think the Russos, when they did Winter Soldier and they started looking at all this, and they're like, this is what we've got to play with, and look at these scenes. And maybe they did see that scene and they're like, hey, you know what? That was kind of an odd scene right there. Let's use that. You know?
Yeah. So maybe that's what it is, and it's just I'm connecting the dots because I'm seeing it in hindsight. Could be.
Yeah.
So what about our 3 and Sif? What do you think of those guys?
I love them all. I mean, I thought they were great. One of the best lines in the movie was when they came to Earth and the SHIELD agents on the roof were calling them in. We've got Jackie Chan, Xena, and whatever. Right? I forgot what he said, Robin Hood or something.
That's awesome.
I mean, Jamie Alexander is great. And she's,
oh my gosh!
And she's a pretty big geek, you know.
You know, she is one. Anyone that listens to the Nuff Said podcast when Jack and I are doing it has heard me go off about Sif and how much I love this character. This is another one. You know what? They're not going to make a Sif movie, but give us, in one of these phases of next Netflix, give us a Sif series. Let's do it, because those Sif comics are awesome, and I think Jamie Alexander is so good as Sif. I could watch her all day.
Yeah, I mean, and I was really happy that she did that SHIELD episode, because I agree with you. We don't get enough Sif in these two movies. We don't, especially in Thor 2, but we're not getting there right now. But here, even, I mean, her one scene, the big scene with the Destroyer, loved it. Loved the. You know,
oh, when she jumped and she stabbed the Destroyer through the neck and the Destroyer turned around, that was, even though we've complained about that scene, that moment with Sif and the Destroyer, fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, the way they're presented, I kind of get this Lord of the Rings feel, you know, where it's just a few people, but they all have these different kinds of abilities, you know, and different kinds of weapons. You know, you have the one
definitely with Volstagg too, because he is very much a Lord of the Rings character.
Right. But you're right. I mean, they all kind of are. You know, you've got the archer type guy, you've got swords guy, you've got axe guy. It's just like all those. It's like anything. Dungeons and Dragons, all those kind of things. It kind of fits because you get all these one type of warrior that does this one thing, and that's kind of what the Warriors 3 and Sif are.
And they're characters that Thor can just, you know, say, hey, guys, I know this isn't, you know, we're kind of going against the king, but, you know, you guys have always been friends, you know, would you want to go with me to do this? You know, they're like, heck yeah, we're going with you. You know?
Yeah, we're going to cause some trouble? Heck yeah.
So, definitely some great humor and banter there, and what's his name? I can't remember, but he's in Once Upon a Time. What's his name? I can't remember.
Fendral? Is he in Once Upon a Time?
Is that why he couldn't do Thor 2?
Yeah, Josh Dallas. Yeah, as Fandral. Yeah, Josh Dallas.
Oh, he is on Once Upon a Time. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
That is really terrible, because we do a Once Upon a Time podcast. I watch it. We're watching like 3 episodes a day, and I didn't recognize him because of the mustache and everything. But he was our Robin Hood character, basically.
Right.
And he's Prince Charming on Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. So, yeah, they replaced him, of course, in the Dark World. So
here's something that I think is a problem on the Thor movie. And it was a problem here. Even though I like this, I think that they're bad guys from outside in the Nine Realms. The Frost Giants. I mean, these are really cool characters. But I don't think they flesh out like the main guy enough. Laufey, most people wouldn't even know who that character is.
Yeah, who the heck is he?
He's the king of the Frost Giants.
Yeah, I mean that's about it. He's
the Odin of the Frost Giants, and the same thing in Thor 2. I never felt that the bad guy. I mean, Chris Eccleston. I just didn't think that there was enough of the character in there, and I think that's been the problem with both of them. And I think that's why people focus on the Destroyer, because the Destroyer has zero character, because it's just this robot that kills.
I like when
the Ed 209.
I like in was it who was it? Was it Coulson or someone said, is that one of Stark's?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Coulson.
Like, yeah, okay, you know what? They're probably thinking, okay, never mind. And we see they start blowing up the cars.
Right, right. Yeah. Why did Stark show up and start helping him out there in that little town?
Let's not go down that road. Ooh.
So, were there things that stuck out to you guys that you didn't care for, or
I guess the fight with the destroyer was kind of weak.
other than Sif?
Yeah, exactly. Other than the scene with Sif, I mean, when they're tossing them all around, it just kind of it didn't go very well.
Well, and I wanted to see the Warriors 3 really open up. Let's not see one destroyer and the three of them get their butts handed to them. Let's have them fight some people.
Well, yeah, exactly, and also, I'm trying to explain this.
Well, and use their skills too.
Butts kicked, but they seem to be more comic relief in their fighting, even except for Sif. The Warriors 3 kind of were just kind of like when they were throwing Volstagg and all that kind of stuff. It just seemed something a little too hokey.
You know what? You brought up a good point when you guys were talking about Lord of the Rings. With those characters, when they show a battle, each of those characters really fight with their attributes. Here we didn't see that. When you walk out of this, do you know what Hogun's real special is? Do you know what Fandrel's real special is? Volstagg, yeah, he's the big guy with the axe. But did you get to see them really do their thing? Whereas in Lord of the Rings, yeah, we did.
Well, those movies are like 3 hours long, so.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is there could have been even one battle other than this weird thing with the destroyer, one good battle scene, maybe when they were fighting the frost giants, where instead of just hack and slash, we see them working as a team doing their thing, because they are one of those teams. Like in the last X-Men movie, one of the things that everybody loved was when we saw them fight as a team. We saw what they do and their skills being focused on. Same thing here. Where was that scene?
Yeah.
The only part of it was there is they distracted and let Sif stab the thing in the head or the neck or the back.
I think it was the neck. Whatever. Whatever that thing, I mean, Anthony Hopkins, great. I mean, I think when people asked him, like, why did you do this? You think he said because his granddaughter wanted him to do one of these.
Oh, what a character to be, though. Him for Odin, you could not have better casting.
Right. I mean, just a great kind of like this father figure, And I love that part where when he speaks to Thor's hammer, let him be worthy,
Right.
And only when Thor sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
You know what? Once again, it's a father and son's story. He was the father unquestionably to these guys. His relationship with them was just so fleshed out. I thought his performance was amazing. And he spent half the movie in a coma.
Right. And
but even that, when you saw him and his eye opened and the frost giant was over him, even then I was like, holy cow, he's still acting and it's just him opening his eye.
I mean, yeah, so what exactly is Odin's sleep? Or what was it called? Some kind of coma?
It's like a coma. It's where he restores. It's his body goes into a restorative state.
He doesn't, his power.
I saw that gold stuff around it.
Yeah, his power is enough to basically give power to all of Asgard. And he just has to sleep basically one day a year. But in this movie, he didn't go to sleep when he was supposed to because so many things were happening. He had to banish Thor and all this stuff, and it took a lot of his power away. And that's why he ended up in basically like a coma.
Yeah, I don't think they really explained that.
No, they did.
As they should have.
Yeah, that's one thing I was confused about.
Yeah, that was one of those things that when I first saw it, I thought, oh, maybe they'll have something in the director's cut where they explain it a little bit further. But no, I didn't find anything that really explained it. I'm just glad I knew what was going on because that would have been a little confusing and a little weird.
Like for me,
yeah,
who doesn't understand who doesn't read the comics.
Right.
No.
And once again, going back to Loki, I thought that the costumes in this were fantastic, but how they pulled off Loki with those stupid horns and made it so freaking cool, I was just so impressed.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Kenneth in the commentary, Kenneth Branagh was saying how close these helmets and stuff were to their heads, and that it wasn't that comfortable. 'Cause
Oh, I can imagine
you know,
if you look at him in that suit. I mean, how is he even moving? The suit is super tight. The collar goes up, and it's basically touching that helmet. That helmet looks like they had to shave his head to get it on there.
right.
At least Thor doesn't have to wear a helmet like that. When he puts his helmet on, it's that big silver helmet.
Yeah, I've seen like the comics and stuff of like pictures of him with that helmet on, and I think it's kind of a good idea they chose not to use that because I think that would have been a
Well,
little
it could
over
have
the.
been worse. It could have been the '60s one, which was like a hat with
Oh
the
yeah,
wings.
oh
You
yeah.
know, that,
Well,
that would have been a little strange.
like in
but,
Adventures in Babysitting.
right. Right. But in this, when they had that short bit when he had the helmet on, I was like, that is a sweet looking battle helmet. I'm glad he didn't have it on the whole time, but that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the part that I really don't care for. Jane Foster's cardboard.
I was
Hey,
waiting for you to bring it up. We've been talking about
Astrophysicist.
this for a while.
Astrophysicist.
Yeah, right. And she's cardboard. And Kat Dennings, I loved her in Thor 2. Here, I loved her, but watching it this time, I had a little different impression. I was like, you know what? They really didn't do much with her. They gave her more comic relief in the second one, and she's so good at that she overshadowed Jane Foster so much in the second one. I think that's why they didn't do it in this one.
Right.
Jane is she's just nothing.
And it was kind of a thing. It's like, oh, she was the only applicant. I mean, that's not really a good reason just to hire someone. I mean, if they're a
Right.
political science major, I don't know. I'm just kind of saying. I guess they were just. I guess in this kind of situation, the intern is irrelevant because I'm doing
Yeah.
something so much bigger than you are. So, but
Yeah,
I guess
I
it's
don't know.
kind of a throwaway.
Well, and it seemed to me like Stellan Skarsgård and Kat Dennings had way more chemistry than Natalie Portman did with them.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and that carried over into Thor too, because basically,
Yeah.
you barely saw Skarsgård with Natalie Portman. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And on the commentary, he's like, "Oh, she's amazing and talented and all this." And I'm like, well, really? Because you seem like a guy that could get that performance out of him, and I didn't see it here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I go back to what I was saying a few weeks ago, and it's the and I know Jonathan, I know Star Wars
Yeah.
reference, but it's the Padme effect.
Yeah,
She
I
can
mean,
act.
I mean,
She
if
can
I
act.
would have, if I would have saw this as like, like my 9. I mean, I hate to make you guys feel old again, but if I had seen this like I saw the prequels, like the 9, 10, 11 age, I might have been okay with this. But I think seeing this as a young adult, I can kind of see the cardboard. I can definitely, agree with that.
Yeah.
She's very, very plain and opposed to, I mean, we've brought this up 100 times, comparing it to the Tony Stark, Pepper Potts relationship.
Oh yeah, completely different. And people bust on that. I was reading something today actually where they were busting on Pepper Potts, and I'm like, I don't get the busting on Pepper Potts. I really like her in that role.
Agreed. Yeah.
You want to bust on something, you bust on Jane Foster. Boring.
Yeah.
And you know what? Dump her. Get with Sif.
Yeah.
Let's make this go on.
Yeah. I mean, I hear like everyone saying that all the time, and I can't agree more.
Well, and Jamie Alexander in this, like right in the beginning, the little looks she gives him, like right from the beginning, you can tell how much she loves Thor. And you're just like, but she's right for him. And Jane is just a schoolgirl, even though she's a physicist.
Who chases storms?
Yeah, I don't get it, man. Okay, I do want to bring up one sweet thing. That image when they were looking at the shot they had of the storm and you see his body falling through the storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a sweet picture. I was like, wow. That's one of those things like you see it, you're just like, oh, I could look at that all day. That's cool.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
So, any other thoughts on Jane Foster from you guys or Darcy Lewis?
No, I mean,
No. I mean, I mean, even though her character is cardboard, I think in general their interactions are very humorous. I mean, I think that's where a lot of the humor comes, whether it be, anytime Thor is showing like how his metabolism is so high, even though he doesn't have his powers, his metabolism and his strength is just so high. He eat a whole box of Pop-Tarts, and he's still hungry.
That happens to me too, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think just that.
The days before my gluten allergy when I could eat a whole box of Pop-Tarts. I've got a little reminiscent going on over here.
pulling out the old Zuba pants that are.
Oh yeah. Hey, fat guy pants. Good to see ya.
But
So
with these two characters, for me, I mean, as Brana was trying to do, it was kind of a superhero rom-com. That's what this movie kind of was, more so than any of the other.
oh, that's a good one. When did we talk about this before? About they haven't done a rom com?
Oh no.
Maybe Jane Foster and Thor was their version of the rom com.
I do think it is, because their interaction early on is all like comedic and doughy-eyed.
I wonder if you edit this down really to Jane and Thor, if you took those scenes and edited it down, would it play like a short rom com film?
I think it would.
Yeah, maybe, especially when she's like, oh, that doesn't go there. When she opens up the
Oh,
cabinet.
yeah.
Oh, wait, that doesn't go there. Oh, here's the dishes. I'll just throw them in here. It's just kind of a. I don't get guessed. I don't get guessed over.
Well, I hope they don't keep doing the rom com thing. I don't want to see like David Schwimmer show up as the bad guy in this. That would really be terrible.
Oh man, but I love Ross. You know me, I
You
love the
would.
rom-com. Of course I would.
That's true. That's true. What if they replaced Natalie Portman with Drew Barrymore? Would that make it for you there?
Of
a little?
course.
Heck yeah.
You can replace all the women with Drew Barrymore. Just have her wear a different wig and it'll be perfect.
Not Sif.
Oh, you're right.
Oh,
I wouldn't replace Sif. No.
No, Jamie is perfect as Sif.
Yeah.
So have we talked this one out?
I think so.
Yeah,
You guys feel good about this one?
I
Yeah.
think so. I mean, let me throw a little bit of trivia though for you. I think this was
Oh,
interesting.
trivia! I love trivia.
Do you know this was not Thor's first Marvel movie or Marvel live action?
Yeah,
version?
I do.
he did the
I
Hulk.
do.
He did the Hulk TV
Yes.
movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the death of the Incredible Hulk, wasn't it?
Very good. Yep.
Yeah, I watched that fight scene. I'm like, what? It's pretty laughable.
It,
Fight scene.
it is.
So,
It is.
Well,
Maybe
we
we'll
were
bitch-
talking about like '60s Thor. I think that was their only reference point, and they couldn't pull it off, and it just got really bad, really fast on that.
Maybe we'll get to those movies one day. But-
Maybe.
And one more thing, because I've brought this name up earlier. Do you know what director was first trying to get a Thor movie off the ground?
Tim Burton.
Nope, Sam Raimi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in '91, I guess he made a pitch to Stan Lee. And Stan Lee did not know what the hell he was talking about. Like, and he was trying to do it after he did Darkman.
Really? You know what? I'm glad that didn't happen. I really love Sam Raimi. Forgive him for Spider-Man 3. Everything else, I mean, I can't think of a Sam Raimi thing where I didn't find something enjoyable. I think he's a great director. That would have been it would have had the tone of Dark Knight, or not Dark Knight, Darkman. And I think that would have been the exact wrong tone for Thor.
No, I think it would have been more like Army of Darkness. I think that's where they would have gone.
That would not work.
No.
I
I would
think
have laughed.
I think one more interesting thing to say is that the end credit scene of, was it Hulk? No, it was
Nick Fury and Stellan Skarsgård.
no, it was in Iron Man. Well, I was talking about the end credit scene of, was it Incredible Hulk or was it Iron Man 2, where it was the New Mexico scene. And that scene is
Iron Man
actually
2.
right, and that scene is actually from Thor.
Yes.
I thought that was very interesting because a lot of times most of these end credit scenes are, they're not at all. But Joss Whedon's like, you know what? I think it was Joss Whedon that directed he directed the end credit scene of Thor.
Yes.
I know, but that scene at the end of Iron Man 2, that was like directly out of Thor.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
he directed the end credit scene in Thor with the 3D camera work as a test to see if he could film Avengers in 3D. And just that 2-minute sequence, he said, was too much to do with the 3D cameras because they were just too big and bulky, and that's why they went to post-conversion 3D
Interesting.
for Avengers.
Now, did you guys see Avengers in 3D?
I saw it in 3D, 2D, IMAX. Yeah,
Okay. What was your favorite?
probably just the regular 2D.
My favorite tends to be the IMAX. Like Cap 2, I saw it both ways. I saw it in IMAX and then I saw it in 2D right like 2 days later.
Well, are you seeing it IMAX 3D or just IMAX?
No, I saw it at a regular IMAX and then I saw it in the regular screen.
Yeah,
And
if we're going with like
it
just
was,
regular
like,
IMAX, it's so much
vastly-
better.
It was like vastly different movies.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the 3D on these movies, it doesn't it brings a little bit of depth, but I don't think it helps as much as like a movie like Avatar or something like that. I think
Right, or Gravity.
yeah, exactly. I mean, those are meant because you're supposed to be immersed into those movies like that. I mean, that's what
Right,
they're
and
built.
here it might almost be distracting. There's so much more going on that I care about here. I don't need that 3D.
Right, exactly. And I felt that more than anything, and we'll talk about it next time with Captain America: First Avenger. When I saw,
Although I
that
do have
3D.
to say, on that 17-minute Guardians of the Galaxy thing I saw with the 3D glasses, I think I'm going to go see it in 3D on the IMAX, followed by a 2D viewing at the IMAX, because that was really good 3D.
But also, you got to remember, this is a space movie.
Yes.
Which I think the 3D enhances that when you've got.
Yeah, driving around
those
New
kinda
Mexico isn't doing it for me. But
yeah, exactly. Or when you're making a tornado and bashing the destroyer in the face. I mean, it just doesn't work.
3D. Who cares? But yeah, the Guardians, watching them fly around in space, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be cool, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's wrap this one up. Our next movie coming up, Captain America: First Avenger. I don't know about you guys, but I am really jacked to get to this one.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we got a war. I mean, we have a war film coming up.
Yeah, and we have. We'll get to it. So excited for this one. So thank you for listening, everybody. You can find our past episodes of this, all our summer series, and all of our other shows. We have like 40 different titles in our network at our website, which is www.southgatemediagroup.com. Alil, where can we find you?
I'm with the League of Geeks podcast websites, www.theleagueofgeeks, and that's geeks with a Z.com, Facebook at the League of Geeks podcast, and Twitter at LOGEEKZ.
Cool. And if you haven't listened to League of Geeks, I would definitely suggest it. If you can find the episode that's their 20th episode, if you want some like uncomfortable male bonding, that's the episode, because you guys got a little weird in that one.
The 20th? When?
With all your love. I love you guys.
Oh, yeah, because that is true. And
a little uncomfortable male bonding there. Yeah. So if you want to hear a little bit creepy, there it is. Jonathan, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at JEBell49er, as well as my Tumblr, Geek Everything, as well as the blog. You can find that on Southgate Media Group under all the blogs, as well as at Radio Free Indoor and at Radio Ramen. So
wow. And you know what? If you want to see Jonathan being creepy, just listen to this podcast. And if you want to see me being creepy, listen to every podcast I do. That's it. You can find me at R Southgate, or you can follow this show at You can follow this show at Nuff Said Pod, or you can also follow the network at SMG Pods. There, I think I got it all right. If you can't figure it out, go to our Facebook page. It's all laid out there, or go to our website. It's laid out there. That's it. I think we're done for the Nuff Said podcast. I don't remember what I am. I'm going to go with, I'm Raquel Rob Southgate.
I'm still a little jacked up, Jonathan.
A little jacked up.
This is the amazing Alil.
And that is true, Alil.
I am amazing. In my own mind.
It's too bad Alil doesn't start with a U, because you could be the uncomfortable Alil after that comment I made. All right. Let's get out of here. Next up, Captain America. I can't wait. Until next time, everybody. That's it. Enough said.
Enough said.
Enough said.
That was the slowest enough said in history.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.